Chodesh, it's Rosh Chodesh Adar, Chullin Daf Kuf. Today was the first day that we had a technical difficulty. We weren't able to live stream the YouTube, so we're going to just do it over now. For those, yesterday we had quite a few views, and therefore we're just going to do it over quickly without people in the shir, unfortunately, but it'll go a lot quicker. We're holding Daf Kuf, actually Daf Tzadik Tesam the base. All the way in the bottom, Gid Anosh is Bashal. So it says in the Mishnah that if you put a Gid Anosh into a pot and the Gid Anosh is not recognizable, in other words, you can't take it out, so what do? The whole pot is treif. Ask the Gemara, Vilibotel Beruba. What happens to the Roiv? All of Torah we say achirabin lahatois, and therefore roiv is mevatel. So if you have two pieces of kosher meat, they are mevatel the one piece of non-kosher meat. You should be able to eat the non-kosher piece. So why over here, if you can't recognize the gid anasha, you can't eat the entire pot? So the Gemara has three pshatim. Either we're talking about the concept of bria. A gid anasha, it's its own entity. So if you eat the entire thing from beginning to end, or you put that into the pot, that cannot be batel. Or the concept of minyan, something that you count and you sell by counting, you sell it as an individual unit, that also is not batel. Or Rabbi Yochanan's concept that something that's you miskabed with orchim, you give it to a guest, it's chashav enough to give to the guest. So these are chashav objects, the minyan, the bria, and Davish Miskabed, these are things that cannot be batel because they are chashav. So let's see it inside. It says the Gemara, V'lebatel beruba, bria shani. Something that its own entity is different. The Ran says there are three rules when it comes to bria. First of all, it has to be something that was created be'isr. From its inception, it was always asr. Second of all, he says it has to be something that's alive. It's a live thing, not like food or something else. It has to be live. And third of all, he says that it has to be complete and whole. So the Gid Anosh has to be whole. The Shulchan Aruch adds one more thing, that it has to be, its name has to remain even if you cut it up. So let's say chaylev, if you were to take a small piece of chaylev, what do people call a small piece of chaylev? They don't call it small chaylev, they just call it chaylev. But a Gid Anosh, if you cut it up, it's called a cut-up Gid Anasha. It's a half a Gid Anasha. It loses its name Gid Anasha. So therefore it has to be whole. Its name has to remain. Says the Gemara, it says in the Mishnah, if you take a piece of nevela and you throw it into a pot and you can't recognize the piece of nevela, the entire pot becomes treif. As the Gemara with the batel beruba, what happened to the roiv of all of the Torah? It should be batel. You should be able to eat it. So Rameir says a statement on top, and Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish come to explain a statement. He said, "Darkei limonos loy mizbatel." Something that you typically count, you sell it as an individual unit, like one or two or a dozen, but you sell it as a unit. That's something that never becomes batel. So Rabbi Yochanan says the pshat in Rameir is es shedarkei limonos. I put in parentheses rak. Es means the only way you could sell it is if you sell it as a unit. But if you sometimes sell it as a unit and sometimes sell it by weight, let's say, that's not what Rameir was talking about. Rish Lakish says no. Rameir was talking about even in a case that sometimes you sell it by unit, sometimes you sell it by weight. Oh, I think it's backwards because the camera is backwards. Okay, next time. In the regular share, the camera is this way. Okay, so says the Gemara, according to Rish Lakish, since sometimes we sell it by weight, so therefore the question was, how come it's not batel? The answer is, it's not batel because we sometimes sell it by minyan. But since this piece of meat, sometimes you sell it by weight, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, it has to be something that you only sell by weight. So then l'chayra, it is something that's not Nachamal. What's going on here? I hope nobody's watching now. Oh, you're watching, one guy. Okay. But later on, Chas v'Shalom, again from the beginning, from the top. V'tibata beruba, it should be bata beroiv. Why? Because in the Torah we're mevadel beroiv. If you say like your Shlokish, that since sometimes we sell this piece of meat by weight, so therefore a nevela that sometimes you sell by weight, you cannot be mevadel, because Rabbi Yochanan says, Rameir says that any time you sell it a little bit, sometimes by weight, by unit, then or by weight, either one, it doesn't become bottle. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, says the Rameir only said a specific case that if you only sell this meat by unit, but this nevela, it's not only. Sometimes you sell a nevela by weight, sometimes by unit. So therefore, it should become bottle as the Gemara. So now Rabbi Yochanan comes up with the concept of the fact that you could give it to guests. That makes it chashuv. What does it mean you give it to guests? Some Rishonim say, if it's a large piece, you don't give huge pieces to guests. It has to be a small, proper piece. Some Rishonim even go as far as saying that it has to be cooked, because that's something you give to guests. Utzricha. The Mishnah has to say both cases of Gid HaNasha, that it doesn't become bottle if you can't recognize it, and the case of Nevela, if you don't recognize it, it's not bottle. The Yashmin and Gid, Mishun de Briyahi, the two halachas that we just said. Gid comes to tell us the concept of Bria, and that concept you wouldn't know by a Nevela, because a piece of Nevela is not a Bria. And Nevela comes to teach us the concept that anything that's roi to give to a guest is not a bottle. Dorash Rabbi Bar Bachana. Rabbi Bar Bachana got up and said a shtickle Torah that Rav did not like. What did he say? If you put a piece of nevela into a pot, it doesn't become also. It has to give flavor to the juice, to the small sediments on the bottom, and to the larger pieces. Meaning, what he's saying is that if you take a piece of nevela and you put it into a pot, that nevela cannot make everything usher if the rest of the pot and the contents of the pot have shishim, because whatever's in the pot will be mevatel the piece of nevela. Meaning, the Rabbi Bar Bachana holds that min b'minoi, the meat is mevatel. The contents of the pot are able to be mevatel the nevela. What goes with this concept of, and we'll see. Says the Gemara, Oiki Rav Amora Alei v'Dorash. Rav was not happy with this, and he said that we have to put somebody up here to darshan and say that he's wrong. Why? Kivin shenosan tam b'chaticha, since the nevela gave off flavor to the one piece of kosher meat. How did it give flavor? So Rashi says two things here. First, Rashi tells us the new concept that we haven't had probably in, last few years, the concept of Isser Davuk. And that is, Rashi doesn't say specifically, but that's what he means, l'chayra. He says, Shahoisa betzida tamid. It was always next to it. But that's the Isser of Isser Davuk. Since the two pieces are touching each other, a piece of nevela that touches a piece of kosher, that kosher piece becomes treif, even if there's 60 to be mevatel it. Why? Because you cannot be mevatel something that's touching the treif directly at the time. That's one way. Rashi says another way is that if he cooked the one piece of treif together with the one piece of kosher, and then only after he cooked it, he introduced many pieces of kosher, they all become treif. Why? Rav kivin shenosan botam b'chaticha, chaticha atzmo nasis nevela. And this is the famous concept of chaticha nasis nevela, otherwise known as ches nun Rashi Tevis, chaticha nasis nevela. That we view the kosher piece that was cooked with the nevela piece as if it's the nevela itself. And if it's the nevela itself, then it has the ability to be metama, to be matrif other foods. V'oiseres kol hachatichos kulon mipnei shehin mina. Again, Rav holds that min, like Rav Yehuda, that min b'minoi, loy batal. So there's no way to be mevatel this one piece of kosher meat, since it already cooked with the nevela, and it's the same type of food. Min b'minoi loy batal, according to Rav, who passes like Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore this can never become undone. And there's another concept here called Efshal Esoichtoi Asur. Here are some of the concepts that we're learning today. Oh, it's backwards, so this is not really doing much. But Efshal Esoichtoi meaning something that you could squeeze the Isser out of, you can never make it mutter. In other words, even if I think that I could squeeze out the Isser, I'll get rid of all the flavor by diluting it in 60 with other meat, 60 times the amount. Efshal Esoichtoi Asur, according to Rav. Whereas Rabbi Chana held Efshal Esoichtoi mutter. So here we have three concepts: the concept of Chaticha Nasas Nevela, the concept of Isser Davuk, pieces that are touching, they become Asur, even if there's a roiv, even if there's 60. And now this concept of Efshal Esoichtoi Asur. If I could squeeze out the Isser, it still remains even after I squeeze it out. Amalei Rav Safra Rav Abaya. So Rav Safra asked Abaya, Michti Rav, Kiman Amr L'Shmaitoi, Kirib Yudah. All the way at the end of Rav, he sticks in, Voiseres Kol HaChatichas Kulam B'nei Shehimina, that Min B'mina is batal. So in other words, he holds, Loi batal. In other words, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that Min B'mina Loi batal. So if he holds Loi batal, my ear Kinos and Tam, Afilu Kilos and Tam Nami. So then why does he stick in the second part? Why does Rav have to mention anything about flavor? Even without flavor, we have a big problem here. You cook the piece of nevela with a piece of kosher meat. That piece of kosher meat should never become mutter because min b'minoi loy batal. Who cares if there was flavor or not flavor? Two beautiful tirutzim in the Gemara. Omar lei, so Abaye answered him, we're talking about a specific case where the individual cooked a piece of nevela together with a piece of kosher meat. Then he removed the nevela, and then he took the kosher meat that was cooked with the non-kosher piece of meat and put it in a pot with full of kosher meat. What happens? Depends. If the non-kosher piece of meat imparted flavor into the kosher piece of meat, so now the kosher piece of meat has the ability to be matrif everything else that he put into the second pot. But and that's why Rav said that it imparted flavor. But if it doesn't have flavor, and you just want to answer it because of min b'mino lebatal, great. So that one piece is asur, but it doesn't have the ability to answer other pieces. Turn the page. Daf Kuf Amud Beis. Afilu teimeloi kodem esilkoi. Rava says as follows. I don't know if you can see it because again it's backwards, but what it says here is min b'minoi and davar acher. In other words, we have a piece of a nevela. That's number one over here. The 1, 2, 3, I hope you could see, even though they're backwards. Number one is the nevela. Number two is a piece of kosher meat, but they're the same min. So min b'minoi. And then you have the soup that it's cooked in. The pot of soup, the pot of gravy, the potatoes, everything else, that's davar acher. So we have min b'minoi v'shaloi b'minoi. That's called davar acher. So typically, we say that you cannot take number one, or actually, let's talk about number two. You can't take number two and combine it with number one to gang up against number three. Nor can you take number two and combine it with number three to gang up against number one. The number two is kemandalesa. You put an X through it, it doesn't exist when it comes to bittul. However, if number two, like Rav said, got flavor from number one, then number one and two can combine together to gang up against number three. And therefore, if number three doesn't have 60 times the amount of both of these pieces of meat, then everything will be treif. Afilu teimeloi kodem esilkoi have a min uminoi. It's two pieces of meat. V'davar acher and the soup. V'chol min uminoi v'davar acher. Saleges minoi k'misha. So typically, what you do is you get rid of the middle one, the kosher meat. V'shei minoi rava alav u'mevatloi. And then number three, the soup comes and is mevatel number one, the nevela. But over here, since it imparted flavor to number two, so you don't say that. Says the Mishnah, and that's it. We are done with the sugya of ta'aroivus. And now we're going back to Chullin. Says the Mishnah, Noyeg, the Gid HaNasha, is noig b'tahira ve'ena noig b'tmeya. If you were to eat pork, let's say, and it has a gid hanasha, you're not over on the gid hanasha, you're only over on the behemoth tmeya. Rabbi Yehuda Omer af b'tmeya. You're over on two isurim, on gid hanasha and on a behemoth tmeya. And he proves it. Amar Rabbi Yehuda v'aloyim b'nei Yaakov neser gid hanasha. The pasuk says, Al kin lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael is gid hanasha. The Torah says that from the time that the Malach had a fight with Yaakov Avinu, says Rabbi Yehuda, that's when gid hanasha became aser. Even before Matan Torah, when Klai Yisrael was still known as Bnei Noach. And at that point, when Yaakov Avinu fought the Malach, they were allowed to eat rhinoceros, they were allowed to eat lions. Yet their gid hanasha, the lion's gid hanasha, was the aser. So you see that the Isra gid hanasha exists on a behemoth male. Amrullah, no, you didn't learn the pasuk right. B'sinai nemar, Al kin lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael was said at Matan Torah. In other words, the Isra gid hanasha only started by Matan Torah. At Matan Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, why is gid hanasha aser? I'll tell you why. Because of the story with Yaakov Avinu and the Malach. Says the Gemara, V'sar Rabbi Yehuda Isser Chal Isser. How is it possible for someone to be over two Isurim, the Isser of gid hanasha and the Isser of behemoth tmeya, all in one bite? We know that a kosher bird that dies in a vela, and if you touch the bird itself, you don't become tamei. But if you put the bird in your mouth, then you become tamei and your begadim become tamei. Perhaps even if you eat a non-kosher bird, you eat owl, you should also become tamei. Your begadim should become tamei. Tamaloi man nevelo trevelo yoichal tamei ba. Mishi surei mishum bal toichal nevela. Only a bird that you have an isra nevela on it. Yotzezeh sheini surei mishum bal toichal nevela. By a non-kosher bird, you can never have an isra nevela. Why? Because you already have one isser called el mishum bal toichal tmeya. This is the isser of eating a non-kosher bird. So you see the concept of ein isser chalal isser according to Rabbi Yehuda. You can't add an isser nevela on top of an isser of non-kosher bird. Yet in our sugya we see l'chayra that you could add the isser of gid hanasha on top of the isser of behemoth tmeya. Perhaps you'll say that this gid, this sciatic nerve, doesn't have flavor at all. And if it doesn't have flavor, so if it's a non-kosher animal, sciatic nerve, gid hanasha, then you're chayiv only for the gid hanasha and not for behemoth tmeya, because behemoth tmeya you're only chayiv, if you eat chazer, you're only chayiv on parts that have flavor. But it's sinews, it's sciatic nerve, if it doesn't have flavor, you're not going to be over on pork, you're only going to be over on gid hanasha. So maybe that's the pshat. You're right, you're not chayiv on two, you're only chayiv on one. If you're joining me now, I see there's two people watching. If you're joining me now, it's because we had a failure. The internet connection went down and we weren't able to broadcast live the shir, and I didn't want that there should be one shir missing in Chullin, so I'm completing it now. And there's nobody here to make any problems, to ask questions, so it's going a lot quicker. And if you'll tell me that Rabbi Yehuda holds that a gid doesn't impart flavor, and if you eat a non-kosher animal, there'll be a isser for the gid, isser to maleka, but there won't be an isser eating non-kosher meat, because non-kosher meat that doesn't have flavor, you're not over. How could you say such a thing? Rabbi Yehuda mechayiv shtayim. Stop right there. Rabbi Yehuda says if you eat a non-kosher animal, you chayiv twice. Once for a non-kosher animal and once for the gid. So you see that he holds that the gid obviously imparts flavor. Reb Shimon poiter. We're going to go into Reb Shimon tomorrow. Beis Shimon Daf Kuf Aleph. Why is he poiter? Balkoponim. You see that Reb Yehuda is mechayiv too. He holds yesh begidim v'noisen tam. The question is, how is it isser chal on another isser? The answer is lo kasava yesh begidim v'noisen tam. Yes, you're right. A gid does have flavor. V'kasava noyeg b'shlil. Oh, the way to get. The only time ein isser chal isser is if one isser was there first, and then you want to put another isser on top of it. That doesn't work. But what if both of them come together simultaneously? Such as in a fetus. The isser of behemoth tmeya and the isser of gid hanasha happened in the same second when the animal was conceived. And that could be chal. Then you have two issurim that happen together. it applies to an unborn fetus of an animal. The Isser Gid v'Isser Tumah b'Hadei Adadi Kohasi, they come together. How can you say that it applies also to a fetus? Vasnan noig b'shlil. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ein noig b'shlil. Rabbi Yehuda holds that an animal that's unborn, you could eat its giranasha. There's no problem. Like a ben pekua that doesn't eat shchita, you eat everything inside it, even the chaylev. V'chel b'muter. Says the Gemara, unbelievable yisoid. Hanamili gabi tahira. When does Rabbi Yehuda say that you could eat an unborn fetus's giranasha if you shech the mother? That's only by a kosher animal. Because there's a special pasuk that tells us the Rachmana Omar kol b'beimot chaylu. It includes kol, everything inside of this kosher animal you can eat. But a tmeya, a non-kosher animal doesn't have this pasuk, so the gerana should be asur. At the end of the day, how can you physically say that the gerana was there on the day of conception? The behema tmeya was there, but the gerana came at a later stage, as we see mafurish by Nazir. These are the tumais that if a nazir touches, he has to restart his count of 30 days. The nazir is tummy for 30 days. If he touches something, what is this something? Alameis, on a full dead person. Val kazais menameis. And even on one small kazais of mace, if he touches it, he has to restart his count, start 30 days over again. Bekashil and Davi's question. Why does it have to say two cases? Just say, if you touch a kazais and mace, obviously, if it's a full-fledged dead person that has a lot more than one kazais, you're also tamei. Comes Rabbi Yochanan and says it's a special case of a fetus that didn't come to full term, and this fetus that didn't come to full term, and a nazir touched him, then that nazir becomes tamei. He has to start over his count, his 30-day count. And what does it say? Here we have a situation where a nefel, the unborn fetus, didn't come to full term, doesn't have all his sinews, doesn't have the sciatic nerve. But he was a behema tmeya. He was a behema and he was a tmeya, but he didn't have a sciatic nerve. So you see that the sciatic nerve and the tumah of the animal don't come simultaneously when he was conceived. Al misatuma kodim, says the Gemara, afalgav, this is tuma kodim, even though you're right, the isser of tuma came first, yet over here, Rabbi Yehuda would admit that you could put another isser on top of it. Why? Asi isser gid chaylalei, you could put an additional isser on it. Why? It's a one-time thing. Since it's so powerful and strong, like we're going to see tomorrow, this concept of Isser Chamor, since it's such a powerful Isser, why is it so powerful? Where do we see it? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't wait for the Torah to be given to say it's Asr. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said it's Asr right away by the time of Yaakov Avinu, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that the Isser was Chal all the way when it happened. Therefore, it could apply itself to another Isser, Dekanami Diktani, Omer Rabbi Yehuda V'Alim Ibnei Yaakov Neser Gidan Asha. Rabbi Yehuda says, and he says, look, the Isser started from time of Yaakov Avinu. In other words, that's why it's so strong, and that's why it could apply itself to the Behemoth Tmeya, V'adayin Behemoth Tmeya Muteres Lahem. Have a wonderful day, and don't tell anybody that it was only 20